A look at the issue, Canto 2 of the Book of Beginnings. We are going stanza by stanza. The first stanza in this canto is 3.10. An episode in an unremembered tale, its beginning lost, its motive and plot concealed. A once living story has prepared and made our present fate, child of past energies. We are made of the past. We are a child of past energies. Our present fate is molded by the past. But if things have to move forward, then it is imperative that in the context of the Savitri tale, it is imperative that Satyavan should die. He must die. Satyavan should die to the past. That is the only way by which past can be tackled, can be handled. It is only that death that can bring the real future, that can reveal the real future, the future of reality, the future of truth and life and joy. If that future has to come, Satyavan must die. The past has to go away. It has to replace the present falsehood. The future has to replace the present falsehood and death and suffering. We are living in a world of falsehood and death and suffering. If these had to go away, if the new future has to arrive, then it is necessary that Satyavan must die. His death is basically the death of the past. But how is it to happen? How is Satyavan to die and the past disappear? How is the future going to arrive? Is it by its own force? Is the future coming to us with its own future or with its own force? Is it the force of the future that is molding our present? Is it going to be someone molding it? If the future doesn't have that force, is there someone who is shaping the future, who is molding the future? Is it contained in the soul of forward-moving time? Is the future locked in the steps of time that it will automatically unroll itself in the moment of time? What is it that is going to happen that the new future would arrive here? But one thing is certain. It can happen only in the elimination of the past. Future cannot come unless the past is eliminated. By the dissolution of the past gathered in the soul of Satyavan, by the dissolution of that past which is quintessence, which is held by Satyavan in his soul. It is this past governed by death that Savitri has to deal with. If past has to go away, it means that death has to go away. It is death who is governing the past, and if it has to disappear, death must disappear. Future has to be dealt with. Future does not arrive of its own. Future has to be dealt, has to be molded, shaped. Yes, if the future has to come in that way, then something has got to be done. In fact, that is indeed the issue of the epic, how the future is to come. That is the issue of the epic, that is Savitri, Shivandu Savitri, the omniscient goddess, the divine Savitri has taken the mortal birth. She herself has come here, taken the human form. She has taken the mortal birth. The divine Savitri herself has come here as human Savitri. She has come here in order to dissolve that past, in order to usher in the future. She has taken the mortal birth to connect herself with the past which is locked in the mortality of the creation on earth. It is that which lives in her. The past lives had to be removed, past has to disappear. In fact, the past lives again in the psychic memory of Savitri. She is carrying that age-old memory in her psychic being. But now, in the death of Satyavan, she sees it ending, the past ending, its end approaching. It has become sufficiently weighty that now it must disappear. The past must disappear. It must die. But the ghost of this past is also carrying in its breast the Godhead of the future. The Godhead of the future is also held in a way by the past. The higher, nobler being of tomorrow is waiting at the doorsteps, and he has to be let in. An entry for him into the house has to be cleared. Things for him to enter in had to be organized. They had to be set right. The dark block of death lying across the door has to be removed. Death is the dark block, the impenetrable obstacle that has to go away. That is Savitri's task, to remove this granite figure of the antagonist. To complete the task, Savitri is given 12 months. She is given 12 months in the company of Satyavan. 1 year after their marriage, Satyavan must die. During that 1 year, she must prepare herself to meet this eventuality. She must see that this is done. In the course of her pursuit, the pursuit which is an age-long pursuit, the last turn of events is approaching fast. They are right here now. Savitri has to be ready to meet that moment. 12 months are speeding swiftly into the day of fate. Even as the fateful day is on the verge of arrival, the day on which Satyavan is to die is on the verge of arrival. Savitri is surrounded by supernatural darkness, the darkness arising out of the primordial night. It is such a darkness, that supernatural darkness, that in it would fail all nature's means. Savitri would not see any helping hand which can be of use to her. She does not see anyone there around. She remains alone in that mighty strife with death. Only the gods above and the soul of nature below, they are the spectators of that mighty strife. There is none else there around, no human being, no other lesser God, none is there around, only God above and soul below. They are the witness of the spectacle. Savitri has arrived at a point when life must be all in vain and should not find any purpose to exist. Yes, tomorrow Satyavan is to die. What do I live for? What meaning have I for life? Is it not better to make an exit from life, walk away from here? Life must be all in vain. Why should I exist here at all? She would not find any purpose to exist. Either that or else Savitri must gather her will in her soul to meet this hour. Her will must cancel her body's destiny. He should die. Either I walk away from life or face the destiny and cancel the force of destiny. Her will must cancel her body's destiny. Which option is Savitri going to exercise? Would she like to walk away from life? Would she fight out the battle of providence? She has to make a choice. But there is something in Savitri, and by her very nature and in the full awareness of the purpose of her life, of her taking birth, taking the mortal birth with all its dreadful contents, she has to strengthen her will to wrestle the issue. She must fight out the battle. She cannot walk away from life. She must wrestle with death. She must grapple the issue. The incarnate is here to cancel the destiny, cancel the death-governed destiny of the body, that of corporeal mortality. The destiny of the body, that is the real purpose of Savitri's mission, not the destiny of her soul, of her mind, of her vital, but the destiny of the physical, of the body. That is the real purpose of her mission. To mold the future, to shape it in the qualities of the spirit, that body houses the divine in it. That is the destiny of the body. And Savitri has to work for that. Savitri has to be here to mold destiny in the physical. If life has been created for a certain purpose, surely then it cannot be in vain. Its purpose has to be discovered. It has got to be fulfilled in its workings. It cannot be casually or perfunctorily treated and dismissed. Life cannot be all in vain. What is necessary is to cancel the present destiny of the body. That has been the ancient tale of the body. Her fate locked with death, locked in the world of mortality. That need not be so forever. Things must change. It is this unremembered tale of the past frustrating energies which Savitri must terminate. It has to be closed with a note of triumph. Savitri has to win victory. She cannot walk away from life. Her body's destiny insists that she works for it, for the body, and brings triumph to it. Savitri meets this past as a block on the road of immortality. Immortality not of the soul, but immortality of the body. It is on that road she meets death as a block. She must remove it. She must clear the ground. She must rebuild fate. She must reshape fate. She must bring new future into this creation. She must rebuild fate of the body. That is Savitri's task.